Japan's had it since 1964. France since 1981. China built 40,000 kilometers of it in just 15 years. And here in Canada, that could all be about to change. Canada is the only G7 country without a single kilometer of true high-speed rail. In February of 2025, outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that Canada was developing a high-speed rail network in the Toronto to Quebec City corridor. The project is called Alto, and it's been set up as a Crown corporation with the motto, "The Train Canada Needs." As a Crown corporation, Alto would function under the federal government similar to how Via Rail currently operates. A budget of $3.9 billion was finalized for the design phase, which is expected to last 5 years. This is the largest infrastructure project in Canadian history and would include over 1,000 kilometers of freshly laid electrified track with trains reaching speeds of up to 300 kilometers per hour when finished. Stops would include Toronto, Peterborough, Ottawa, Montreal, Laval, Trois-Rivières, and Quebec City. Incoming Prime Minister Mark Carney has upped the stakes, fast-tracking the project through the federal government's Major Projects Office. Determined to cut red tape and expedite the project, the government has committed to begin building before the end of this decade. Embedded in the latest federal budget, the government highlighted that Alto will have its engineering, regulatory, and permitting work accelerated. This will allow for construction to begin in 4 years, not the original 8 that was previously planned. The overall cost of this project is projected to be somewhere between $80 and $120 billion. Looking around the world at other high-speed rail projects that are running into the red, $120 billion would be a bargain. The Alto project is certainly appetizing. There are many benefits in having high-speed rail in such a densely populated corridor of the country. With a high-speed rail project like this, we're talking about Toronto to Montreal in 3 hours, which is half the current time by conventional passenger rail or driving. Pre-project studies estimated that the Alto corridor could generate a recurring annual GDP gain of around $24.5 billion, which is equivalent to roughly 1.1% of national output. For comparison's sake, Canada's agriculture, forestry, and fishing sectors typically account for between 1.5 to 2% of GDP annually. Think of the impact on everyday people and what it could mean. By linking this corridor together with high-speed rail, you would effectively bring the cities of this region closer together. Over 700,000 students in this region would be much better connected to the over 30 colleges and universities in the area. An estimated 50,000 plus jobs would be created during the construction phase and thousands more once the line was operational. What if you could live in Peterborough while making Toronto money with only a 1-hour commute by train each day? Think of all of the cars this could take off the road and how this benefits everyone. By freeing up space on the roads, the net benefit to everyone is projected savings of over $500 million a year because of less collisions, insurance claims, and healthcare costs. The environmental benefits are also massive. This high-speed rail corridor is projected to provide an environmental benefit of up to $7.2 billion. Tourism revenue is also projected to increase steeply at over $800 million annually from enhanced connectivity. Time savings and productivity these days are huge. Faster, more frequent, and more reliable travel is projected to lead to savings of up to $38 billion. The Madrid-Barcelona high-speed rail line opened in 2008. Passenger volume for rail increased by over 1 million people in the first year of operation. and by more than 500,000 people in the second year. Over the same time frame, air travel between the two cities lost 800,000 passengers in the first year and more than 1 million travelers in the second year. It certainly seems possible that the same could happen in Canada. Short-haul flights between Canada's two biggest cities, Toronto and Montreal, could become almost non-existent. For auto travel, California's high-speed rail system estimates that if and when it's finally built, it will reduce vehicle miles of travel in the state by over 10 million each day. This project has the potential to change the shape and the trajectory of the entire country. But wait a minute. Having said all that, this project isn't without risk. While all of those benefits sound good on paper, this project comes with some massive red flags. In my view, there are two main problems that severely threaten to derail this project. The first problem comes down to expertise. The Government of Canada has selected this high-speed rail network as a nation-building project. A priority has been put on this to make it a Canadian at-home project using Canadian resources and expertise. The only problem is that we don't have any high-speed rail expertise in this country. Making this a for Canadians by Canadians project limits our chances of success greatly. I think the best approach would have been to recruit foreign talent from other successful high-speed rail agencies like Japan's JR Central or France's SNCF, who have career experience in this type of work. Those nations possess talented people who have decades of experience, and targeting their mid to top-ranked staff would have been much better than what's currently happening with Alto. The CEO of Alto, for example, has no transportation experience, let alone high-speed rail experience. Before being hired to lead Alto, he was the CEO of the Montreal Port Authority, and before that he was Vice President of Corporate Strategy and Business Development at Hydro-Quebec. Alto does appear to have recruited Maria Dominguez, who oversaw the expansion of Spain's high-speed rail network. But looking at their leadership team, she's the only person that appears to have any experience with this sort of work at all. While this is better than nothing, it doesn't look like enough external experience to me, and her role and ability to succeed on this project remains to be seen. The second problem that I see is structural, the dreaded public-private partnership. Large infrastructure projects require tight coordination between engineers, planners, and construction teams to be successful. Consortia of engineering and consulting firms are not good at this type of coordination. In February of 2025, the Government of Canada chose the Cadence consortium as the private developer for the Alto Rail project. The consortium is made up of 6 fairly well-known companies, which include CDPQ Infrastructure, Air Canada, Sistra, AtkinsRéalis, Keolis, and SNCF Voyageurs, the French state-owned high-speed rail passenger company. Unfortunately, these companies aren't exactly synonymous with excellence. AtkinsRéalis was formerly known as SNC-Lavalin, the same SNC-Lavalin that is responsible for the problem-plagued Ottawa LRT expansion that suffered delays, cost overruns, and continuous breakdowns. A public inquiry into this concluded that the company betrayed the public trust after the LRT was rushed into service after multiple delays. The consortium also includes CDPQ Infrastructure, responsible for the problematic REM light rail project that had to be taken over by the Quebec government and City of Montreal after a lot of public backlash. Public-private partnerships for large infrastructure projects have proven to be unsuccessful over the years. They are often highly complex, with 20 to 30-year long-term agreements making them difficult to negotiate and monitor. They lack transparency because their processes hide behind confidential negotiations, which leads to a lack of public oversight and opens the door to corruption. And while these partnerships are designed to share risk between the government and private companies, it's the governments who often end up providing long-term guarantees that can lead to huge liabilities and much higher costs for the public sector in the long term. High-speed rail is super cool and super awesome, but it's also extremely risky and expensive. I hope the Alto project one day happens, but I'd like to see these concerns addressed before it does. High-speed rail projects around the world have gone astray, and I would hate to see the same thing happen here in Canada. Let me know what you think about the Alto high-speed rail project in the comments below. Is this really the train that Canada needs? Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.